And yes, I know single parents that have homeschooled. So that's also a thing. And don't worry, parents, those of you that are out there with multiple children, here's the thing. I have 5 kids, plus I ran a daycare while I homeschooled, and we had foster kids. Hey, welcome back to my channel. So it's Melissa here with another video. I am so excited to share this series that I'm going to be producing for the next couple of weeks, maybe even months. So before we get started, I want you guys to make sure, if you haven't already, if you have already subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you have not, make sure you click on that subscribe button, as I am on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And you can help by simply clicking that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to be among the first to know when I drop a video. Last but not least, leave a comment down below. As always, I love to hear from you. This is going to be a very educational video. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions, and please do not hesitate to leave a comment below. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So you found this video for one or two reasons. Either you are already a homeschooling mom and you just want to link up with someone who may have ideas and resources for you. My intent and my goal is to get you encouraged and excited about being a homeschooling, home learning, virtual learning parent to children. And you're going to be excited about it by the end of this video. This video simply speaks to families that live in districts where the districts have already made decisions on virtual learning, or to families that have decided, I'm ready to homeschool. First and foremost, what I always do when people call me or they text or they inbox me with questions about homeschool, the first thing that I always do is I ask them why. Why are you homeschooling? Why are you doing virtual learning? What does that mean to you? Because quite frankly, once you start doing your research, homeschooling, virtual learning looks different for everyone. And there's so many versions of it. I'll do a quick overview on the different styles, but mainly we're going to get you started. And if you want any help or support for you specifically, for your state or for your child or your circumstance specific, please do not hesitate to leave a comment down below, or I will leave my email tagged and you can email me as well. What is homeschool? What is that? Let's rewind a little bit, just to tell you a little bit about myself. I am not new to the homeschool community. I am not new to teaching. I'm a teacher by nature. My passion, my degree is in early childhood. I've taught in elementary. I've taught high schoolers. I've subbed. And right now I am actually successfully teaching online. I've taught public and private schools. So I pretty much have ran the gamut of education as far as that's concerned. Along with that, I taught my own children at home. I have 5 children, and my first 3 children were homeschooled. It was so funny. Before COVID started, my younger 2 were starting to have, thoughts and thinking, hey, we want to go back to being homeschooled. And the decision was sort of made for us. We all know that the last school year ended for a lot of children being homeschooled. And in our state of Arizona, that's what happened to us. So let's fast forward. My specific district has decided that everyone is going to virtual learning. Your district may not have made that decision, or they have made a decision. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what your district has decided. Let me know what you're leaning toward. This video is simply helping families prepare for virtual / homeschooling, learning at home situations where A, the parent may have to still work, B, where there's other siblings, and C, where there's other family members. What is homeschooling? That's what we're going to talk about today. Stay tuned. There's going to be a series of videos where I'm going to talk about preparing you as a teacher, preparing your child, and preparing your family for homeschooling. The subcategories I'm going to talk about: attitude, preparation, organization, execution, and success. Yeah! The first thing that we're going to talk about today is actually, what is homeschooling? What does that look like? What could that look like for your family? So if you have an idea that's going to be specific to you and your family, again, my email will be listed down below, and you can also leave a comment. What's homeschooling? When someone talks about homeschooling, virtual learning, there's so many aspects to that. So I'm going to break this down. First, I'm going to tackle homeschooling. Homeschooling is just simply what it is. It's when you choose to have your children be educated at home. Some kids will, depending on your state, and I'm going to go into state regulations and laws and all of that in subsequent videos. But for now, I want to talk about just specifically, what are we talking about when you're saying, what is homeschool? Depending on your state, there's definitely guidelines as to what that would look like legally, what that should look like, what the requirements are for each age group. And I will, at the end of the video, I will tell you exactly where you need to go to get that information so that you will be prepared when we meet again for the next video, so that we can have the next part of the conversation. Let's talk about attitude. Your attitude to homeschooling, first of all, throughout the years have changed. Back when we homeschooled our older children, it was still kind of a novel idea. It was kind of weird, especially being a Black family. There were not many Black families in our circles where they were homeschooled. As a matter of fact, we literally usually were always the only Black family whenever we went to social gatherings or when they took their extracurricular activities and things like that. Like, my kids were always the only Black kids. Your attitude towards homeschooling is very much linked to your why. You need to figure out why you're doing it. Are you doing it because the school district told you to do it? Are you doing it because of religious convictions? Do you feel like you want to kind of control the information that your kids are learning? As well as maybe you're doing it for your child. Your child has specific needs that you would like to address for them. That's one of the reasons why I chose to homeschool, because, for an example, my oldest daughter is a very kinesthetic learner. She likes to move, move, move. My oldest son is very auditory. He needs to hear the lesson. So we all know that traditional schools really aren't designed to help these type of learners fully, the whole child. And that's what I'm talking about. It allowed me to get the curriculum and tailor it to my child's, not only their learning needs, but their developmental needs. And so that was my why. And it helped, in turn, help build their confidence in who they are as learners. You really should figure out what your why is, because that will drive your attitude towards it. If you're doing it because the district wants you to do it and you're like, oh, this is going to be annoying, I promise you that same attitude is going to go, it's going to transfer onto your children. And then you're going to run 9 times out of 10, you're going to run into the frustration of your kid not being excited about homeschooling. So right now, determine if you're going to homeschool or virtual learn and you're frustrated about it. I advise you, don't even address your children about it until you become positive about it, or else they're going to take your energy from you. So that's the attitude part. The next part is preparation. You have to prepare. In every video, I'm going to talk about preparation. If you're not a preparer, I will give you good news. There is a style of homeschooling, which is called unschooling, where they pretty much just let life live. And unschooling is someone that denounces the traditional books and different things, and they just kind of let the kids guide their education. If they want to learn today, they learn today. They don't. That was not my philosophy as a homeschooler. Preparation for me is very, very key. And part of preparation in this phase is you have to learn what you're doing and why you're doing it, which is why at the end of the video, I'm going to direct you to the Department of Education website for your state so that you can get some guidelines and rules and what this looks like. So again, we're talking about homeschool. I am not talking about virtual learning, because that's going to look completely different. That's going to be something that's sort of governed by your school and your school district, which homeschooling is as well, but I'll get into that. Organization. When you're talking about what is homeschool, again, you got to organize. You got to organize, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what it's going to look like. And part of the beauty of homeschooling is, one of the things that I loved is that you don't have to school when traditional school is on. So for an example, if your school goes from 8:30 to 4:30, your kid does not. And 9 times out of 10, if you're doing homeschool correctly, I always say by 12 o'clock, your kid should be done, depending on what time they wake up. But guess what? If we planned a family trip and we decided we wanted to go to Disney World or we wanted to go camping. My kids took their books with them and they did it on the road. Or we prepared 2 weeks early and loaded up on work so that when they went on vacation, they didn't have to do it. So that's the beauty of homeschooling. Also, if we had a crazy day or if we just slept in and we decided, you know what, we're not going to work today, it was completely okay. I'm going to talk about all of that when we talk about your student and your family and your lifestyle. Right now, I kind of want to focus on homeschooling and what you're diving into. It's a huge responsibility, as you can imagine, because your kid's education is in your hands. But I'm here to help you and guide you along the way. I have resources for you for socializations, because that will be a video all by itself. So far, we talked about your attitude. You have got to, in my opinion, to be successful as a teacher, as an educator, you have to have a positive attitude about what you're doing. If you feel like, oh, my kid can't learn that way, every kid can learn. You just got to tap into it. And that is my philosophy. That is my belief. You have to tap into it. And 100%, it has to start with what comes out of your mouth. If your child hears you saying what they can't do and what they don't do, 9 times out of 10, they're not even going to attempt to try to do it, because you've already dismissed it as what they can't do. I am not talking about children with developmental and special needs as far as their abilities, attitude, organization. Perfect example. I'm not the perfect morning person, but when it comes to homeschooling and meaning business for my kids, I got up and I did what I needed to do. The beautiful part about it is, if homeschooling were you to school at night, there's no rule against that. You can school at night. But we'll get into that later. Because the district has bought curriculum, they now are taking the responsibility to say, we are taking on the concept of teaching your children virtually. What is homeschool? Part of that execution is you're going to have to figure out if you're going to homeschool or virtual learning. So let's segue into the conversation about the virtual learning. Our children's school district has decided that we are going to be virtual until the numbers have changed for COVID. So what does that mean versus homeschooling? Homeschooling basically is, I am a parent, I'm an entity, and I'm going to take the responsibility of finding the curriculum and implementing that curriculum, whether it's going to be myself, another teacher, or someone else that I'm going to pay to educate my child. That is what homeschooling is. Let's move on to virtual learning. The biggest difference between the two is the responsibility of teaching will not rely solely on the parent as it does. And I'm just going to use the parent as an example, as it does on the parent, as it does with virtual learning. With the virtual learning, there will be a teacher that they will have to report to. Whatever regulations and guidelines that need to be met, the district, the schools, the teachers that they are assigned will make sure that they are being compliant. Now, does that mean as a parent, you get to just sit your kid in front of a computer and not check your emails or make sure that they're not doing their work? Absolutely not. There's still some accountability that should be in place, even if you're doing virtual learning. And honestly, you as a parent, to me, in both situations, you really should have a hand in that situation. We talked about your attitude. We talked about preparation. I'm going to help you with the preparation at the end of this video. The next videos after this, we'll talk about all types of preparation. I have resources. I have years worth of resources. I have apps. I have all kinds of things that will help you be a successful homeschooler. And don't worry, parents, those of you that are out there with multiple children, here's the thing. I have 5 kids, plus I ran a daycare while I homeschooled, and we had foster kids. So don't color me super mom. Just understand I was organized. And of course, I had the help of my husband. So we did this thing as a team and we were successful. And we're going to help you become successful. It's easy for me to say, yay, let's do it, because my kids are in high school and they're honor students and they're amazing students. But I have resources even for the kid that is just like, because I had one of those. Execution. And then finally, success. Any situation, whether it's homeschooling, jobs, college, true success comes from preparation. And that's what these series of videos are going to be about. They're going to be about helping you prepare for your journey of homeschooling and virtual learning. We're going to dig more into virtual. We're going to dig more into homeschooling. Who's going to be responsible for what? What am I supposed to do? What am I not supposed to do? What if someone comes knocking on my door? What are the legal ramifications of homeschooling and telling the district, nope, I'll homeschool. I don't want a virtual. But for this video, I am just cheering you on, and I'm championing behind you because I believe in you. I believe that some of the greatest teachers in the world for our children are, we are it. Does that mean, and I'm going to touch on this, does that mean that I was able to teach my kid chemistry and advanced mathematics? Absolutely, positively not. But guess what? I have resources for that. If you homeschool, if you're virtual learning, that's something you don't necessarily have to worry about, because the children will have their teachers and their districts to help support them. You can do this. I promise you, you can do this. If I can do it with all those factors that I said, multiple children, running a daycare, with a husband in the military, with multiple deployments, I'm not a sucker for punishment, because I know that's what you're thinking. I just love children. I love teaching. And like I told you before, our philosophy about it was, and maybe I'll tell you my story as how I first got started. But my philosophy is that when you have children that learn differently in different styles, you really should tailor their education, not towards test, but towards their learning styles. And I'm going to get into learning styles. I'm going to talk about all of that. So guess what? You have to come back. You just have to come back. And if it's something that you would love for me to discuss, leave a comment down below so that I can make note of it. And then I will definitely discuss it if it's appropriate for this video. Over 20 years ago, that's when our journey began. Homeschooling was always something that I was really interested in. It was just out of curiosity. I would always see people homeschool. I'm like, man, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. Well, what ended up happening with our first son is that he would come home with more homework and more schoolwork than he would have in school. And he's the type of person that he didn't give the teachers any hard time, or he was just very quiet, but also the social butterfly. So he was busy yapping and playing and doing whatever, and just kind of probably drifting off and not completing his work. And the teacher, bless her heart, Miss Best, she would call me and say, Alan didn't complete his work. He didn't do his work. And by the time he would come home, I would have so much work. We would have so much work that we would have to work him through. I finally said, I may as well homeschool. Like, this is ridiculous. He may as well be homeschooled. And that's where my journey began. You as the parent may or may not be required to be the teacher. And that's what we're going to segue into now, the preparation. How do I prepare to homeschool? The first thing that you should do, now that we've laid this foundation, the first thing you need to do is to visit your state's Department of Education's website. Virtual learning, I encourage you to just wait on your district to give you the guidelines. If you're saying, I'm definitely going to do virtual and I'm going to use the curriculum that the school is going to use, they will guide you through that process. Well, Melissa, why am I watching this video? Because there's going to be some supplemental things that I'm going to have to walk you through as you're virtual learning, especially if you have other children. Your children learn differently. Your children like to learn in different environments. Virtual learning, for this part of the conversation, you're just going to be put to the side right now, because the school districts will help you. If you're deciding to not use the virtual learning and you want to go the homeschool route, let's go to whatever state you're in, go to the Department of Education, and you need to search that site for the homeschool regulations. This, again, is for homeschooling only. Virtual learning, the school districts will guide you. If your kid goes to ABC High School is going to send you a link and say, hey, Bob has now been enrolled into 123 Virtual Academy, and this is what their grades are. This is what they need. This is what they need to do. These are the subjects. So this is the good thing about virtual learning, and that's what I'm excited about. As a former homeschool parent, I don't have to worry about attendance. I don't have to worry about any of that, because that's what they're going to take on. So all my virtual learnings, you guys just hang tight. There's going to be more. So just hang tight. Homeschooling families, you need to look up your state's regulation. You need to figure out What are the regulations? What am I required to do? I'll give you a reason why. Each state isn't regulated the same. We've lived in places where our kids could be homeschooled, but they went to school for science, math, electives, and stuff like that. We lived in other states where they were like, you homeschool, you're on your own. So you go to the website. Now I'm going to tell you, when you go and find the general Florida state, Utah state Department of Education regulations for homeschool, read through it. They're going to talk about homeschooling. They're going to say who can homeschool your kids. In some states, you have to homeschool your kid. No one else can do it. In some states, you can get someone else, a grandmother, a cousin, a neighbor. I've seen it when we lived in Hawaii. There were like homeschool co-ops, and we would go and teach each other's kids different things. So you need to find out if that's something that's available for you. If you know someone that's strong in math, that you guys can have a co-op and have a math co-op. We had art co-ops. We had PE. Listen, and I'm going to get into those resources and groups and organizations. So you got to hang on. I can't do it in one video. I just can't. So you gotta hit that subscribe button. You gotta hit the notification bell, and you have to come back for the rest of this series. You just have to. You're on the page, and they're telling you who can homeschool. They're going to tell you what your attendance requirements. You're going to have to take attendance, and I'm going to tell you in what? Another video, how you take attendance. What did I use to take attendance pre-digital? If you are a paper person that wants to if you want to take attendance using paper, I'm going to tell you how to do that. Again, preparation, organization. Unless you're an unschooler. If you're an unschooler, a lot of people they're called free range now. If that's what you are, then this video probably is not for you. I'm going to mention you here and there, but at the same time, these regulations still apply to these people, even though their philosophy for learning is going to look different from me. They're going to tell you about attendance. They're going to tell you what your standardized testing requirements are. Our children had to be tested along with their peers. So again, hopefully this video will help your attitude if you had these kind of myths in your head. Like, homeschoolers are not these weirdos that just decided to pull their kids out of school because they don't want them to be infected by the mean old public school people, and they just do what they want to do. That's not what a responsible homeschooler does, in my opinion. My kids, we took attendance. I had to drop it off at the district. They knew me very well. And again, because we were military, we lived in different places. Each state, I had to learn what their regulations were. And I want to also piggyback and say, not only do you have to learn what the state regulations are, when you have to contact your district may have a not completely different, but they might have other things that they require you to do. You have to go to the website and then go to the district and get the guidelines and the regulations. You may not have to do attendance. We've lived places where they didn't want attendance, but they wanted the testing. You may live somewhere where, well, with COVID, that's not going to necessarily work, depending on if you live in a state that's open. But in some places, they let the kids come in for different subjects that you aren't strong in. And I'm going to give you resources later in subsequent videos. If you're not strong in a subject, what do I do? So again, I want you to be successful. I feel like these 5 things will help you begin your journey as a successful homeschooling family. And yes, I know single parents that have homeschooled. So that's also a thing. Let's review. The first thing, what is homeschooling? Homeschooling is simply deciding to educate your children at home. What is virtual learning? It's literally the same thing. However, the responsibility lies on the district or the academy that you choose to enroll your children in for that virtual learning. Now, here's the kicker that I forgot to mention. As a homeschooler, you can enroll your kid into a separate academy or curriculum from the school district. So, perfect example. My school district is going to use red marker curriculum, and I am completely against that curriculum for whatever reason. I don't like it. I can choose to say, I'm now going to homeschool, and I want them I'm going to enroll my children in yellow bus curriculum because that's the one I love. My friend owns that one and I want to use that one. Completely legal. And speaking of legal, subsequent video, it will be a complete video on what my legal resources are, because as you begin to research homeschooling, you will also come across articles of people, running into problems. And I've never ran into a problem with the district. And it's just like anything else. If you do what you're supposed to do, you won't have any problems. You can, you know what? And that's another video. You could talk about, I want to talk about neighbors and how to handle nosy neighbors or neighbors that don't support it or understand. Again, cover yourself, do what you're supposed to do, and you won't have any problems. This video has addressed any concerns or questions just for our first step. The first thing, attitude. Please, please, please get on board, get excited if that's what you have decided to do. If you're still on the fence, leave a comment down below and let me know what the deciding factor is. What is the kicker? What is the thing that's going to be, if I can only do this, then I'll make my decision. If you're here because of the district has pretty much decided for you, I want you to know, even though the district has decided for you, there's other options. As a homeschooler, you can choose your curriculum as a homeschooler versus accepting what the school district is using. Attitude, preparation. Thank you. You've clicked on this video. That means you're serious about preparation. And this is all about preparation. Begin to prepare your attitude, prepare your speaking, prepare your view of homeschooling, educate, Google, leave a comment down below and I'll answer. Prepare, prepare, prepare. And I think in my next video, I'm going to even talk about what do you need, because I see some people are now reaching out. I need this, that. You don't really need that kind of stuff. Plus, I have a secret about your kid and their learning that you have to consider when you're preparing. I'm not going to tell you now, though, because you got to come back. Organization. You're going to hear me talk about organization throughout this whole series. I'm keen on organization when it comes to it, because if you're not organized, as I was talking about attendance and transcripts and all those things, you're going to be in over your head and you're going to be overwhelmed. And an overwhelmed person, in my opinion, typically is either an unorganized person or an unprepared person. If you're going to decide to homeschool, I know here in Arizona, school should be starting August 5th in our district. Part of your execution is you need to submit a letter of intent. What is that? A letter of intent is your letter, very simple, letting the district know that you are intending on homeschooling your child. If you're going to submit that letter, you need to let them know if you're going to, you don't have to let them know the curriculum that you're going to use or anything like that. The only way that I would say that you would let them know that is if you're going to enroll them into a different academy or virtual learning academy or something like that. That would be subsequent. But again, I can't speak for you. You have to look at what your district requires to be in that letter of intent. So I can give you a script, but it really means nothing, because your district may say, nope, I know they want to know your children's names. They want to know the grades. They want to know what school they're supposed to go to. And that is step one. And then we're going to go and be successful. How are we going to be successful? We are going to hit the like button. We're going to hit the subscribe button, and we're going to watch this video and we're going to share it, and we're going to come back for more information, and we're going to take notes, and we're going to begin this journey together. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.